I absolutely love to see where these different teams are. Jared said, "I love where my nose is at. Perfect spot, dark horse
I
playoff team."
think I think
Yes.
it is the perfect spot for them. And not to
Yeah.
mention week one,
Oh yeah.
essentially one of these teams gets eliminated from the playoff because it's FSU and LSU, which I cannot
Uh,
wait for.
Absolutely. Yo, hey, my guy with the perfect segue. We have to look at that. The top 10
Yes,
are the top
sir.
player duels in 2023. A lot of times it's going to be these big time matchups, but let's go right there with that. You have LSU. We know about Kelly coming in there, coach. Now, LSU did lose a little bit of talent, but they still got their quarterback Daniels. We know what they got on defense and that kind of stuff. And then you flip it
Mm-hmm.
over, you got Florida State with Travis. You got Jared Verse. You got the tight end they got from South Carolina. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You want to talk about a matchup. Last year we saw what this matchup was. Came down to the very end of the game. Was a missed extra point or a blocked extra point?
The
Or
blocked extra point, yeah, that's
yeah,
what
I
it
think
was.
yeah. So shout out to so it was amazing last year. But like you said, we talk about games that could maybe eliminate you from the playoffs. This is
That's
one
a
of
big
those
one.
games where if you lose this for either side, it could really have a major effect on your season.
I could not agree more with that. Like, that's 100%. Now, I mean, if it's a close game like it was last year,
Yeah.
and the loser of that runs the table, say Florida State loses that, and then they win
Yeah.
the ACC, beating Clemson, beating North Carolina, like beating teams of that caliber, I think they'd be fine to get in. Probably as the
Yeah.
4 seed, but I think they'd be okay.
Absolutely. They're
And
saying
that's,
same
yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You have these two top teams. LSU, they could easily get a couple W's this year that could totally make you forget about a close loss if they were to lose the Florida State. I do think for Florida State, it might be a little bit more difficult being in the ACC. Obviously, I think they're going to match up with Clemson. They don't play the Tar Heels. So I'm trying to think.
That would be the ACC title game if they play.
Exactly. So a loss, depending on if how bad it potentially is, might have more of an issue for them. Um, but then on the flip side, it's definitely final if LSU loses because they cannot afford to get any to lose any ground in that
The
SEC.
only way they would get in is if they win the SEC at that point,
Right.
basically.
Right.
Unless the
No.
whole college football world falls out underneath them, which
Hey,
this year it could happen.
right. We could have a 2007 where you have 4 or 5 teams at number 2 week after week, and you're like,
Man.
oh my god, I want that. Bring me
Oh,
that chaos.
as long as Michigan's not one of them, please.
Right. Yo, let's keep going down the list, man. I mean, we talked about the Pac-12. I mean, that's a quarterback conference right now. What's left of the Pac-12?
Yeah.
Oregon with Bo Nix, Washington. I mean, you could pick any one of these games: Utah, USC,
Mhm.
Oregon, Washington, Oregon State. Which game
Yeah.
out of here? That I mean, a lot of these are going to be really nice. What matchups are you looking for?
I'm talking the Pac-12.
Yeah,
For me, the big one is Penix and Caleb.
yeah,
That is my number one. I mean, those were two of our top 5 quarterbacks in the nation. I mean, Bo Nix was just outside, but these are two of the absolute elite guys. And to me, it's probably the winner that really is the winner of the Pac-12. So give me that one all
oh yeah,
day.
oh yeah, yeah. I want to definitely see those duels, but look, I'm gonna let you talk about your conference, man. I'm gonna let you talk about where the big boys play and the amount of colossal matchups that are coming up. What are some matchups and some players maybe you're looking at in your conference?
So I'll steer clear of Michigan. I've talked about them enough.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, Penn State, I've said it multiple times, scares the hell out of me. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like Drew Aller's going to be an upgrade
Yeah.
over Clifford. I think he's just a more dangerous quarterback.
Oh
Plus,
yeah.
you have the running game of Singleton, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but it was like the 1 and 2 or 1 and 3 running back prospects coming in last year, and you kept both of them. You got a good offensive line, Olu Fashanu, who's one of the top tackles in football. They're just loaded across the board. I know they lost a lot, but they've still got a lot coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ohio State, they're always right there. I mean, you've got, in my opinion, probably the best player in college football, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yep.
You still have JT Tuimoloau, who we talked about on Saturday. I'm blanking on the middle linebacker's name, but he is an absolute problem. He's a game breaker. It's all going to come down to me for McCord for them, the quarterback, they're saying it's still a quarterback battle. I think he's going to take the job. I'm assuming that's his to take. And it's all going to rest on his shoulders this year. That's truly how I feel about that. And then I won't dive into it too much because we're going to talk about them in a little bit, but Maryland could make a little run here. If they pull an upset or two, they're absolutely in the running. I mean, Tally is probably I'd put him probably 3, 4, 5 for quarterback in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's a team. I learned my lesson last year by saying, like, I felt like we'd pull away by like 2, 3 touchdowns. We barely beat them. So this is a team I'm absolutely keeping my eye on.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, I love that. I got to go for me. One, I got to go with the major quarterback duel. You talked about Caleb Williams at USC. Notre Dame. Shout out to our guy Eric Kelly that came on the show and talked about them a couple weeks ago. I'm really hyped to see what that final piece. A lot of people said they're quarterback away. I want to know if that final piece can put them over the top. And regardless, I'm expecting nothing but fireworks in this game. USC,
Sam Hartman and Caleb Williams.
Notre Dame, right? Williams, Hartman,
man.
back forth. I mean, I want one of those 45, 40, 48 games. Like, I want those things.
That's
just a constant duel, man. And I can see it happening if both of them play up to their potential. But I mean, if this game goes the way both expected, I mean, we might be talking about, the winner being boosted up in that Heisman race. With the talent of these two players. So that's the one I'm looking at. Obviously, in the ACC, everything North Carolina. I really want to see Drake May, but more importantly, I want to see that first game. We talked about it in the group chat today. North Carolina and South Carolina. Drake May versus Spencer Rattler. We've gone back and forth on, hey, when Spencer's hot, he's really good, but when he's not, he stinks. He's terrible. So I really want to see if he can show up, play a good, clean 4 quarters against a defense that right now I have not seen that much improvement from. So I want to see what he can do against them. But on the other side, I do want to see Drake May. We talk about him all the time. I love him. We know his ability and his skill. Fact of the matter is, last year I was still very disappointed in the fact that once the cameras and everything started coming in, he got a little.
It got to him, yeah.
It definitely did, and it was one of those situations where it's like, that's the only problem I had with so much, anticipation for him coming out in the draft and everything. Just because you got to be ready for that. If you're not ready for ACC defenses and things of that nature, and it's still Clemson's conference, but you're not ready for Clemson. What happened when we got to that game? They took out DJ Ungalele. Klubnik came in and they smoked us. I mean, come on now. This is not a guy that in that ACC championship. That's not somebody that's a top 5 pick. That's what I need to really see from him. I need to see more tape put for him. So I'm excited to see this first game to see if we can get on the right foot. Because shout out to Will. I know Will will tell everybody South Carolina is no slouch this year. They're going to
be a problem for sure.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So look, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what games are you interested in. And Andrew, as you saw, we kind of stayed away from SEC. All right. Because we wanted to see all the other conferences and whatnot.
I mean, let's be honest. We're talking quarterback matchups this year. There's not really, there's a ton of new quarterbacks this year.
Yeah.
Like, the only, major ones that are returning, I mean, Jaden Daniels, sorry. Yeah. KJ Jefferson.
Yeah.
And Will Rogers.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone else that's coming in is, a big-time, recruit or backup in the case of, Jalen Milroe. Jackson Dart as well. Is a big returner guy. But I mean, you have someone like NC State transferred to Kentucky.
Leary. Devin
Yes,
Leary.
thank you, Devin Leary. Yeah, so he's a big time quarterback,
Right?
but he's somebody that transferred in. I mean, Milton's that same kind of backup one. So I mean, that top quarterback spot is really up for grabs this year in the SEC.
It really is. Yeah. So and that's going to be interesting. But as we know, SEC is more hard nosed. It's more run the ball, good defense, that type of stuff. Not saying they don't have that talent, but I'm glad to be looking at elsewhere for that.
Yeah. I'm also not excited about Graham Mertz.
Yeah. That to me, I don't understand that. To be honest, maybe they saw something different. Maybe he's comfortable to the coach. Maybe Napier feels like, okay, I can. I don't
watched
know.
that spring game.
I know it didn't look good. That's why I'm kind of like,
he looked bad. It wasn't not good. It was bad.
So that's why I'm like, how are you picking this guy? I mean,
the other quarterback didn't look any good either.
Oh, that's true too. I mean, come on, man. It's gonna be interesting for Florida this year, man. Especially with Anthony Richardson gone, man. Oh, I feel for them because I am not feeling that QB. He said he might not make it through the season. Woo.
He'll get this year and part of another season if it's not working out. It's too early. You can't pull the trigger year 2 to get rid of him.
Yeah. I don't see it.